10 miracles in the Bible that still happen today. Have you ever wondered if the miracles described in the Bible still happen today? The Bible is filled with incredible stories of God's power, from parting the Red Sea to healing the sick. But are these just ancient tales, or can we still witness God's hand in our modern lives? The truth is, miracles didn't stop with the Bible. God is still moving, working, and demonstrating His power today. In this video, we'll explore 10 miracles from the Bible and how they continue to manifest in our lives. We'll look at biblical examples, modern testimonies, and practical insights to show you that God is still active and present. By the end of this video, you'll be encouraged to recognize the miracles happening around you every day. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an opportunity to grow in your faith. Let's get started. The Bible is filled with stories of miraculous healings. One of the most famous is when Jesus healed the woman with the issue of blood, Mark 5:25-34. She had suffered for 12 years and spent all she had on doctors, but one touch of Jesus' garment made her whole. Today, we still see God performing miracles of healing. From terminal illnesses disappearing to sudden recoveries that leave doctors baffled, God's healing power is alive. Modern medicine is often left without explanations for certain healings. For example, individuals diagnosed with terminal illnesses sometimes recover fully after moments of prayer. While doctors may call these cases spontaneous remissions, believers recognize them as divine interventions. The story of a pastor praying for a woman with late-stage cancer, who later found no trace of the disease, is a testament to God's power. Healing extends beyond the physical and reaches the emotional and spiritual realms. People who struggle with years of anxiety, depression, or addiction often find liberation through prayer and faith. These forms of healing are no less miraculous than curing physical ailments. God cares deeply for every aspect of our being and desires to restore us fully. Faith communities frequently witness such miracles firsthand. A congregation might pray collectively for someone in need of healing, only to receive news of an unexpected recovery. These shared moments of faith strengthen the belief in God's active presence among His people. Have you experienced or witnessed such a moment? Reflecting on these instances reveals the depth of God's compassion. Healing also challenges us to trust in God's timing and sovereignty. Not every prayer for healing results in immediate restoration, but it doesn't mean God is absent. Sometimes, the process of waiting builds faith and dependence on Him, allowing His glory to be revealed in unexpected ways. The story of Elijah and the widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 17:7-16, demonstrates God's miraculous provision. During a severe drought, God provided food for Elijah, the widow, and her son through a jar of flour and a jug of oil that never ran out. This same miracle happens today when people trust God in times of financial or material need. Modern examples abound where individuals receive exactly what they need at the right moment. A family facing eviction might find their rent unexpectedly paid by an anonymous donor. These moments are clear signs of God's provision, orchestrated through His people or directly by His hand. Stories like these are reminders of His unwavering faithfulness. Provision can also be seen in the small, daily blessings that we often take for granted. A sudden opportunity, a kind word, or an unexpected solution to a problem can all be ways in which God meets our needs. These moments, though less dramatic, are no less miraculous. They reveal His intimate involvement in our lives. Missionary accounts often highlight instances where resources miraculously multiply. In one instance, a shipment of supplies destined for a small village was enough to feed many more than anticipated, with some to spare. Such events echo the miracle of Jesus feeding the 5,000 and show that He still works in similar ways today. Trusting in God's provision often requires stepping out in faith. Just as the widow in Zarephath obeyed Elijah's request despite her limited resources, we too are called to trust and act, even when it feels counterintuitive. In doing so, we open the door for God's miracles to manifest in our lives. The story of Elijah and the widow of Zarephath, 1 Kings 17:7-16, demonstrates God's miraculous provision. During a severe drought, God provided food for Elijah, the widow, and her son through a jar of flour and a jug of oil that never ran out. This same miracle happens today when people trust God in times of financial or material need. Modern examples abound where individuals receive exactly what they need at the right moment. A family facing eviction might find their rent unexpectedly paid by an anonymous donor. These moments are clear signs of God's provision, orchestrated through His people or directly by His hand. Stories like these are reminders of His unwavering faithfulness. Provision can also be seen in the small, daily blessings that we often take for granted. A sudden opportunity, a kind word, or an unexpected solution to a problem can all be ways in which God meets our needs. These moments, though less dramatic, are no less miraculous. They reveal His intimate involvement in our lives. Missionary accounts often highlight instances where resources miraculously multiply. In one instance, a shipment of supplies destined for a small village was enough to feed many more than anticipated, with some despair. Such events echo the miracle of Jesus feeding the 5,000 and show that He still works in similar ways today. Trusting in God's provision often requires stepping out in faith. Just as the widow in Zarephath obeyed Elijah's request despite her limited resources, we too are called to trust and act even when it feels counterintuitive. In doing so, we open the door for God's miracles to manifest in our lives. In Daniel 6, we read about how God delivered Daniel from the lion's den. The mouths of the lions were shut, and Daniel emerged unharmed. Today, stories of deliverance from danger, from car accidents to life-threatening situations, show that God is still a protector. A compelling modern testimony involves a family trapped in a burning building. As the flames consumed their home, they prayed for divine intervention. Miraculously, firefighters arrived just in time, rescuing everyone unharmed. These events, often labeled as good fortune, are understood by believers as God's active protection. Another story recounts a missionary traveling through a war-torn region. Their vehicle was stopped by armed militants, but after a silent prayer, the attackers inexplicably let them go. These moments are a testament to the power of prayer and God's ability to shield His people in the most dangerous circumstances. Natural disasters also provide instances of divine deliverance. Communities struck by hurricanes or earthquakes often share testimonies of survival against overwhelming odds. These stories inspire faith and remind us that God's hand is present even amidst chaos. God's deliverance isn't limited to physical danger. Many find themselves freed from toxic relationships, harmful habits, or spiritual attacks through prayer and faith. These forms of deliverance, though less visible, are equally miraculous and life-changing. The Bible records powerful stories of resurrection, such as Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead, John 11:1-44. While rare, there are still modern accounts of people being revived after being declared clinically dead. These stories often come from remote mission fields or areas where faith is unwavering. One extraordinary account tells of a child who drowned and was underwater for over 30 minutes. Despite being pronounced dead, the child was revived after fervent prayer. Doctors could not explain the recovery, but the family attributed it to God's miraculous intervention. These stories remind us that God's power transcends human limitations. Spiritual resurrection is equally profound. Many individuals describe feeling dead inside before encountering God's transformative love. Their lives, once marked by despair or purposelessness, are renewed with joy and direction. This form of resurrection is accessible to all who seek Him. Historical records from revival movements often document miraculous occurrences of healing and restoration. These events demonstrate God's desire to bring life and hope to His people. They remind us that His power is not confined to biblical times, but continues to operate today. Resurrection also symbolizes hope in the face of loss. Believers are reminded that death is not the end, but a transition to eternal life with God. This perspective transforms grief into hope and despair into faith, showcasing the ultimate victory of life over death. Jesus feeding the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish, Matthew 14:31, is one of the most well-known miracles in the Bible. This same principle of multiplication happens today when God stretches resources far beyond what seems possible. Missionaries often share testimonies of food supplies lasting much longer than expected during times of scarcity. One account describes a shipment of provisions that fed an entire community for weeks, even though it was initially estimated to last only a few days. These stories reflect God's ability to make the impossible possible. Churches also experience this miracle. A congregation once collected a small offering during a financial crisis. To their astonishment, the funds were exactly what they needed to cover their expenses. Moments like these highlight God's perfect provision and timing. In our daily lives, we may witness similar miracles. A paycheck stretches further than anticipated, or resources are shared in ways that benefit everyone involved. These occurrences are reminders that God's provision is not only sufficient, but abundant. Faith plays a crucial role in experiencing this type of miracle. By trusting in God's ability to provide, we align ourselves with His promises and create space for His power to manifest. This trust enables us to move forward confidently, knowing that He is in control. In the Gospels, Jesus often cast out demons, demonstrating His authority over spiritual forces. One striking example is found in Mark 5:1-20, where Jesus delivers a man possessed by a legion of demons. This miraculous act not only restored the man's life, but also showcased Jesus' power to break spiritual strongholds. Today, similar deliverances occur through the power of prayer and faith in Jesus' name. Modern ministries often share stories of individuals freed from spiritual oppression. In one instance, a young woman plagued by nightmares and irrational fears sought prayer from her church. After a series of prayer sessions, she experienced peace for the first time in years. Such testimonies remind us that God's power is still at work. Deliverance is not limited to dramatic cases. Many people experience freedom from destructive habits, unhealthy relationships, or persistent doubts through God's intervention. These quieter miracles are equally significant as they reflect God's care for every detail of our lives. Faith and community play a vital role in experiencing this type of miracle. When believers come together in prayer and stand firm in their faith, they create an environment where God's power can manifest. This collective faith often leads to breakthroughs that individuals might struggle to achieve alone. The story of deliverance also highlights the ongoing battle between good and evil. As followers of Christ, we are called to stand firm in our faith, knowing that the same power that raised Jesus from the dead is available to us today. Whether through prayer, fasting, or simply trusting in God's promises, we can experience His victory in our lives. In Acts 16:6-10, Paul received a vision that directed him to Macedonia. This divine guidance led to the spread of the gospel in Europe, showing how God actively leads His people to fulfill His purposes. Such moments of miraculous guidance continue to occur today, often in ways that defy human understanding. Many believers recount experiences where they felt a strong prompting to take a specific action. One missionary shared a story of feeling compelled to delay a journey. Later, they discovered that the original route had been blocked by a dangerous landslide. These instances highlight God's intimate involvement in our lives. Dreams and visions are another common form of guidance. Throughout the Bible, God used dreams to reveal His plans, as seen with Joseph in Genesis. Today, many individuals report receiving clear messages or directions through dreams, often at pivotal moments in their lives. These experiences remind us of God's desire to communicate with us. Prayer is a crucial element in seeking God's guidance. By spending time in prayer and meditation, believers position themselves to hear God's voice more clearly. One pastor described how a week of prayer and fasting led to a clear vision for his church's next steps, resulting in unprecedented growth and impact. Miraculous guidance also serves as a reminder of God's sovereignty. Even when circumstances seem chaotic or uncertain, His plans are always perfect. Trusting in His direction allows us to walk in confidence, knowing that He is leading us toward His greater purpose. The Bible highlights God's ability to restore broken relationships, as seen in the story of Joseph and his brothers, Genesis 45. After years of betrayal and separation, God orchestrated their reconciliation, turning a painful past into a testament of His grace. Today, similar miracles of restoration continue to bring healing and unity. One modern example involves a father and son who had been estranged for over a decade. Through prayer and a series of unexpected events, they reconnected and rebuilt their relationship. Such stories remind us that no rift is too great for God to mend. Forgiveness often plays a central role in these miracles. When individuals choose to forgive, they open the door for God's healing power to work. A woman once shared how forgiving a friend who had deeply hurt her led to a renewed friendship that was even stronger than before. Forgiveness, though challenging, is a powerful tool for restoration. Community also plays a significant role in fostering reconciliation. Churches and small groups often serve as safe spaces where individuals can address conflicts and seek support. In one case, a church intervention helped restore a marriage on the brink of divorce, demonstrating the power of collective prayer and counsel. God's work in restoring relationships is a reflection of His own nature. As believers, we are called to be agents of reconciliation, extending grace and seeking unity wherever possible. These acts not only heal our personal lives, but also serve as a testimony to the transformative power of God's love.